It's that time of year where we wrap up all the books that we loved, maybe some that we even hated. Today's video is going to be about the nonfiction that I enjoyed this year. I usually read about 50-50, 50 fiction, 50 nonfiction. This year I read a little bit less. I don't know, I was just feeling some fiction stories that were really compelling to me. But rest assured, there is a lot of nonfiction that sometimes it's a little bit harder than fiction. These are those stories that I'm going to be talking about. This is going to be a list of about 8, some runners-up, some honorable mentions. Let's get into it. Number 8. One Day, the extraordinary story of an ordinary 24 hours in America. Essentially, the entire plot of this book is that Weingart wanted to make the argument that no 24 hours is boring, inconsequential, not worthy of our attention in time. He randomly prompted himself to pick one day in the world, and it was December 28th, 1986, and he did extensive research on interconnecting stories, pivotal moments in people's lives. There are so many wonderful little clashes of chaos that make a day memorable, and that is what Weingart wanted to explore. As with any sort of book that explores different narratives and different stories, there are some stories that are stronger than others. There's a lot of stories about couples who break up, come back together, told through different narratives of the relationship. There's also a political commentator talking about the pivotal moments in his life, pivotal moments in that campaign career. I think one of the most standout stories is about a young boy who survives a house fire and how he was able to live this very wonderful, fulfilled life. Probably the most standout story for me in this was the opening story, which is just showing how powerful a confluence of events can end up being. It opens with a very disgruntled, jealous boyfriend doing something to his girlfriend and to himself, and it's introducing the idea of the moral obligations that an organ donor has even in death, and the moral choices that doctors have to make if their organs will help somebody survive. And in the continuing snowball of this day, the organs of this horribly despicable person who made this horribly despicable choice went on to save a woman and have a resounding impact in the medical field. I think it's a great introductory book for nonfiction. I think that you can pick and choose which stories stand out to you. Really easy to read, and I enjoyed it. And really interesting insights into the medical field. I feel like there was a lot of research into the medical field in that particular book. And talking about medicine and medical fields, without divulging too much information, I actually went through a little bit of a health scare this year, and I feel like I'm not alone in saying that I spent many hours doom scrolling in many pockets of the internet trying to self-diagnose and figure out what was wrong with me. I have a little bit of an apprehension when it comes to going and seeing a doctor that I think really resonates with me. I also come from a very small town. So my family doctor was basically my family doctor from the time I was 5 up until I was an adult. I think it's so important to find a doctor that you are able to communicate with and really has your best interests at hand, which is why I'm so happy that there's a resource like ZocDoc available. ZocDoc is also kindly sponsoring today's video, so thank you so much to ZocDoc for doing so. If you don't know what ZocDoc is, it is a free app and website that helps you find and book high quality in-network doctors so you can find someone that you love. And with ZocDoc, you are able to book in-network appointments with over 150,000 providers in all 50 states. If you want to find somebody who works specifically in person, you can find that person. If you are much more comfortable behind a video call, you can find a doctor that is working for you. It's across all fields. You can search by specialty or symptom. You are able to review reviews from real people who have experienced that doctor's bedside care. Maybe they like small talk, maybe they don't. Maybe they love gourmet food, and maybe they love takeout. You can find a doctor that really resonates with your needs and your wants. I think what personally works best for me is that when you are ready to book with them, you will see their real-time availability and book instantly. There's no phone tag. I think there's nothing worse than the anxiety of picking up a phone and trying to make a doctor's appointment. Hello? And appointments can happen fast, within 24 to 72 hours. So if you're like me and you want to feel like you are getting a relationship with your doctor, you can do so by checking out ZocDoc. You can click the link in my bio to check out ZocDoc today. Thank you again to ZocDoc for sponsoring today's video. Okay. And so after One Day, I actually forgot that I read this book this year, but I have to put it on there because it's a great book. Everybody loves it. I enjoyed it. It's not my favorite by this author. We'll soon find out. But I have to put on Say Nothing. Come on. Come on, there's been a TV show made of it. Everybody talks about this book. It's wonderful. I do agree. Say Nothing is essentially about the Troubles in Northern Ireland, specifically profiling Jean McConville, who was a woman who was abducted and ultimately murdered for her actions within the IRA. I think what makes this stand out as a nonfiction book for me is it's not just specifically highlighting her story. It's talking a lot about the different branches of individuals who were involved, the people on both sides of the story, the people within the IRA and the people against the IRA. A whole firestorm of events that led to the Troubles. Keefe also makes it a testament to really explore the Price sisters, who were these pillars within the IRA community. And probably my favorite little side story is Stephen Rea, I forget how to say his name, but the famed Irish actor, the famed Irish stage actor and movie actor. Just to see how intricately connected all of these stories were was what made this strong. Definitely worth reading, and a great piece of historical writing about something that, as an American, we're somewhat taught about, but not really taught about. I think we have a lot of information about it, but in reality, we don't. So I was very happy to read about it. And then after that, we have Art Thief by Michael Finkel. What a weird little story. I read this right in the beginning of this year, and I have put this on the list because I have recommended this to so many people throughout the year. I feel like this is a great art book recommendation. When you're at a dinner, when you're at a gala, which I find myself at so often. No, but if you're talking with people, talking about art, I feel like this is a great suggestion to just pass on to people. This was a highly, highly popular book as well, right in the same vein as Say Nothing. And this holds up. This was good. I enjoyed this. This is all about an art thief. It's much more of a meditation on who gets to have art. He had no rhyme or reason aside from probably being a kleptomaniac, but also his passion for art, his passion to hoard and have this art for himself. He did not have the intention to sell it. It was not some grand scheme, some network of burglars. No, that is not what the theme of this was at all. It was all this absolute obsession with having the most precious and most beautiful of things. I think that they estimated his collection at the time when he was caught to over $1 billion. And he was just hoarding it in his little apartment above his mother's house. Wild. And would he have ever been caught? Who knows? It goes into the division of what is his love for art? Will his love for art withstand the love that he has for his sidekick, who is his lover at the time? Really interesting personality. And I think what Finkel does well is that he doesn't compliment the burglar at all. It's much more assessing his personality and showing just how infantile he was, how much like a child he was in this need to steal and take things because he righteously thinks that it's his. But a good book, really great. And I enjoyed it a lot, definitely. And then number 4, this book, I wasn't in love with it originally when I read it, but I think about it really often. This is A Long Way Down, Memoirs of a Boy Soldier. I know that there's a lot of commentary about this book. When I was doing a little bit more research on it, they say that some of this information might be faulty, that it might have been augmented. I still think that this is a really horrifically fascinating story. Ismail Bey, the author, it's his memoir about being a boy soldier in the Sierra Leone Civil War. I have talked about it in videos before, but the reason that I first became interested in this book was I was in an Uber. My husband and I, we were sitting in the car, we got to talking to this wonderful man, and he told us he was from Sierra Leone, and he said that he was actually a refugee during the Sierra Leone Civil War. This was back in 2021 when we were having this conversation, and I hate to say it, but I did not know about the Sierra Leone Civil War. And I remember I made a mental note that I wanted to read a book that would teach me a little bit about it. And this was the first one that popped up. And I think it's the most popular. When I first talked about this book on the channel a while ago, so many people said that they read it in school. My school was not doing that sort of education, okay? So I read this as an adult. This read very, very quickly. It's incredibly horrifying. I mean, just that's the most base word to describe what's going on here. Even if 2% of this story is real, you wouldn't wish this on a single person, especially such a young person. I think he was between 13 to 15 when he was employed as a boy soldier. It wasn't a choice. It was attacked for survival. I think there's really illuminating chapters about him acclimating within the United States. He was adopted by a woman in New York City, and that is where he began his tour of essentially talking about what happened to him. I think a pretty good introduction into something that I wasn't aware of and made me want to do much more research on these events that have happened in history and shaped people in really fundamental ways. So yeah, I suggest it. And now this is where I want to make the argument that these are not definitive best books. I think the top 4 or so are just because I had a really good time with them. So without further ado, top 4. Number 4 is Craftwerk, future music from Germany. I love electronic music. I really do. I love it. You can catch me on the dance floor, just busting a move to some funky tunes. Sometimes I feel like maybe I don't align with the personalities, maybe I don't align with the aesthetic of somebody that's really interested in electronic music, but reading this book makes me realize, no, I'm just a nerd like the rest of them. Because if there's one thing that this really illuminated was the fact that Craftwerk are just a bunch of bike riding nerds that love to beep and boop, and I love it. I don't say that in a derogatory way. I say that as a companion sort of way. I think it's so interesting to see the origin story of a genre of music that has gone on to shape so many of the songs and the artists that you know and love. Even if you don't know Craftwerk explicitly, you've definitely heard their song. Bum 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 bring. A lot of fun. This is a very easy read. I would not say that this is difficult by any means. I put off reading this for so many years, and I kind of regret it. I can't wait to reread this. I think anybody can read this, and it's such a sick edition. Sorry. That looks so cool. I felt really cool reading this, okay? Especially in Brooklyn where I live. I'm a hipster. A little bit. A lot of bit. It's good. It's good. If you're interested, it's good. It's really good, okay? It's really, really good. All right, so let's get into some quick honorable mentions. Books that almost made the cut. Culture Creep. I didn't necessarily love this book, but I think about certain chapters of this book quite a bit, and it introduced me to my number 2 book, and I'm forever thankful. This is all about culture, specifically highlighting teen culture in the early 2000s. There's also a really great essay about online gaming that the author gets into. This is much more memoir-y than I would like it to be, but I think overall it was a pretty good book. Nickel and Dimed. I almost didn't put this on here, okay? I have such a polarizing opinion about this. Do I love this book? Do I hate it? I'm not sure. I know that this was so monumental when it first came out. This actually made it onto the New York Times top 100 books of the past century, whatever it is. I don't know what that title is, but I did a video about it, and that's what piqued my interest. Do think that this was revolutionary when it first came out. There wasn't really the conversation that we're having about poverty and the discrepancy in wealth like we are now. Back when this came out in like the 1990s, it's not as ubiquitous as it is right now. I mean, you basically see it everywhere within the United States. So I applaud that effort to send that message out. But I think just working at a place for a month and saying, yeah, I had the full experience is a little bit not realistic. But still a fine read. I do think about this all the time, and I don't know if it's because it's just a hate thought, but I'll put it on there. Then The Souls of Black Folk by W.E.B. Du Bois. I have been meaning to read this book for a really, really long time. I finally read it this year. This is great. I was a little bit nervous because I do have a little bit of fear about reading books that were published way back when, that I'm not going to be able to follow the flow. But this was great in its anecdotal approach to getting its point across. I think that it was a great division between so many fact-driven narratives, and then it would break the narrative and use an anecdote, a story, to really just show you the humanness of what is trying to be explained. Okay, now I've talked about books that actually have really great value and meaning, and not saying that these top 3 don't, but these are just books that I had a really good time with, and I'm very comfortable in my reading choices to say that sometimes you just need to read books that make you feel feel things, okay? I'm a human. Number 3 is Down the Drain by Julia Fox, okay? I really enjoyed this book. I don't know what else to say besides I genuinely enjoyed this book. I listened to this on audiobook, and I think that that is the preferred method of reading this because Fox narrates it herself and does a great job of just being in her own world and inviting you into it. I knew nothing about Julia Fox aside from the video interviews that I've seen of her going viral. Everything about her feels very much internet contemporary celebrity, and I made a whole commentary about it in my Books to Battle Brain Rot video. I just think passing judgment on people so quickly in a scrolling world is not something of value, and taking the time to maybe even just spend 10 minutes listening to that person has such a great weight, an emotional weight that I don't think that we invite in anymore. And listening to her audiobook was great. I highly suggest it. I listened to it in a day. I was obsessed with it, and it might be for free on YouTube somewhere, but I didn't say that. The second book, I was introduced to this through Culture Creep, so I'm forever thankful to that book, How to Murder Your Life by Kat Marnell. Julia Fox and Kat Marnell actually know each other, so I feel like it is very easy to just tie these two books together. And the reason that I put Kat Marnell's book a little bit higher than Julia Fox's, even though they are entirely in the same vein, I would suggest these as a partner read together, is that I had no idea who Kat Marnell was. I had absolutely no idea. She was a writer and editor for XO Jane, was basically how she got her jumping point into writing and early internet virality. I had no idea, was not really cognizant on the internet at that point, but I became obsessed with her. I went into so many deep Tumblr archives to see pictures of her. She is a nut in the most lovingly way possible. I say that, okay? I say that with love and appeal and heart and soul. Wild girl. Takes full responsibility for her actions and writes in a really honest way about addiction and about the desire to succeed in New York. I think there's also a really interesting narrative about that as well. The compulsion to just keep going and early internet access and early internet opportunity. I loved it. And I suggest Julia Fox and Kat Marnell together. That's like an easy pairing, and you will have a good time. And number one, oh, this one was an easy pick. Another Patrick Radden Keefe, Empire of Pain. Oh my goodness, I can't even begin to tell you how annoying I was talking about this book to people. I wouldn't shut up about this book. I was just like eating up the information. I couldn't stop with this book. This is all about the Sacklers, who essentially introduce and really learned how to market opioids to the American public. What a fascinating read about advertising, about law, about morals, about American government. There's so many things tied into this, and I was so gripped from beginning to end. I want to listen to this again. I love how greedy people can be and just putting them on full blast. And I've talked about it before, but the idea that this family, all they cared about was their name and the wealth and the power behind their name. And Keefe is just able to tear down that legacy in such a great, compelling book. It's fascinating. You'll love it. It's so much more than just the pills and the horrible things that happened. It's really a meditation on the bonds between a family and the lengths that people are willing to go to attain success. So good. So good. So, that is it. Let me know what nonfiction you love this year. I think that that's a pretty wide range of nonfiction. Let me know what you would like to read. I hope you find something that just startles you to your core. Don't be intimidated by nonfiction. Nonfiction is amazing, and you can read so many valuable stories that feel like fiction. Truth is stranger than fiction, okay? And I love fiction too, okay? But I'm just saying, invite nonfiction into your life. Don't be intimidated. There's great real stories out there. You guys are wonderful. You're fabulous. Thank you so much for being here. I will see you in the next one.